Hey teachers, this is your overview for day 2's activities. So again, always a good idea to put your own video here to give students an overview of the activities for the day. So you have your overview here as well. So today is over the Constitution. And this is just a little quick check-in for them to tell you where they're at. So just trying to incorporate that social emotional learning each day since it's a short time together. So what you're going to find on this slide is just kind of an overview of the Constitution era, kind of a review of what they read about yesterday, and then an introduction to what they're getting into. So you're going to see that same repetition on the subsequent days. So again, we always have a guiding question. We want to draw our kids' attention to that, or else they'll probably skip it, right? How do the principles in the Constitution prevent the government from abusing its power? That's our focus. So we looked a little bit at Edpuzzle in yesterday's video. So again, it's up to you on the extent to which you want the data. If you don't need each student's individual answers, then you can keep the link that exists here. If you want to go a bit deeper, you can look at these instructions for you. Just make sure that you delete this box before you assign it to students to prevent any potential confusion. So they're going to answer the questions during the video, and they will answer this question here. And then there's a chart on the next slide. And basically what it's asking them to do is to give an example of each of these principles. Okay, and there's a second half on this slide. Now, there is an accommodated slide for this week, or for this day, excuse me. And the accommodated version is just a bit different, in which it's a drag and drop. So you may decide that you need to share that with your students as well if they need that. Okay. Now, the next slide is going to be a brain break in which your students get to choose one thing to do, and you're going to see that similar format in the next days. And then the kids are going to look more specifically at the powers that each branch has, so kind of zooming into separation of powers. So when they click on this link, this is on the accommodated version as well, they're going to see an infographic on the 3 branches' powers, and they're going to use that infographic. And it does have text-to-speech, by the way. They're going to use that infographic in order to complete this drag and drop. So the drag and drop's on the on-level and accommodated version. Now this video will show kids, it'll take them to YouTube, but it'll show kids how to do the drag and drop if they need help. All right, then we're going to let the kids have a little bit of fun with separation of powers and checks and balances and let them choose a game in order to kind of review. So they can either do this rags to riches, or if they have a desktop, laptop, Chromebook, it will not work on like cellular devices or iPads. They could do quizzes, which will work on any device, so that might be a good option for them as well. Okay, now these links won't give you data, it's just for them to review. Then we're going to take a closer look into federalism on how it limits the national government's power. And so kind of a couple of infographics as well as Amendment number 10, which we know is super important for them to learn. And then kind of looking at some processing skills around that. So they'd answer the question on the slide. Now the difference with the accommodated version is that there's simply some sentence stems for them to fill out. As well on the next slide as well, you'll see sentence stems. So now that they've learned about the 7 principles, we're going to ask them to say which one they think is most important, okay, in preventing the government from abusing its power. So they can go back to that chart that has the 7 principles with the pictures in order to help them remember. So they're going to basically fill out the sentence stem. And then if you choose, they can go onto Google Classroom, onto the discussion feature of it, and they could type their response and maybe respond to another student's comment. Now there's an instructional video that you could have students watch here that show them how to access a discussion, okay, on Google Classroom. Now, if you are going to have those discussions, it's really important to address with kids, how to respond respectfully, and just an important skill to be able to do that. So our checklist is here, so it gives kids an overview of all the things that they should have completed. So please direct them to here if they're not sure what slides that they should have done. If you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for all that you do.